He stopped his truck in the rain. When he realized what this mother was hiding, the sky was gray, but the air was still warm, the kind of humid daytime storm that makes the wind feel heavy and alive. Cars were speeding past, throwing sheets of water from their tires as rain pounded the highway like thousands of tiny bullets. And in the middle of that chaos, he saw her, a young mother standing near the guardrail, soaked through, her hair plastered against her cheeks, holding a trembling little child in her arms. Her hands gripped him like she feared the universe was trying to pull him away. The man in the red pickup stopped. He just stopped, in a place where almost no one ever stops. The world might call that a small thing. But what happened next would make him realize this was not just a woman needing help. She was hiding something, something terrifying and heartbreaking, behind those wet eyes and shaking breaths. If you believe kindness stories still matter, and you believe second chances can change someone's entire life, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Touch of Kindness Stories. Your support lets more real hearts find hope again. His name was Ryan Keller, an ordinary man in his mid-30s. He was not rich, not famous. He worked construction during weekdays, and on weekends he often drove around rural routes buying scrap steel to resell. Nothing glamorous, nothing dramatic. But he believed that when a person is in pain, you don't just drive past. And so he stopped his truck right there, middle of the day, rain hammering down, and stared at her through the window. He didn't open the door yet. Something felt wrong, very wrong. Not just fear, not just helplessness. Pain. The kind of pain that lives under the skin. Her name was Arissa Dawn, age 28. She worked as a hotel laundry attendant in the next town, nobody's dream job, but it helped her pay the room rent for the small place she was temporarily staying in. Her son, little Taven, barely 2 years old. His cheeks were wet, not just from rain but from silent crying. Arissa had left the hotel property 20 minutes earlier, after something happened inside that building that pushed her to flee like she had been running from a fire. But instead of flames, she was running from a man who was supposed to love her. She was trying to walk to the next exit. But the storm kicked in suddenly, the rain unleashed like an open faucet in the sky, and her knees were shaking from exhaustion. And now her heart was beating so fast she could hardly breathe. Ryan finally opened his truck door and stepped out, letting the rain hit him instantly. The heavy drops soaked through his shirt and rolled down his face, but he barely noticed. He walked toward her, slowly, because he didn't want to scare her. He saw the way she jerked slightly as he approached, like a deer expecting a gunshot. That was when he realized something was different. Her eyes had that look. The look of someone used to flinching. He gently gestured toward his truck, not touching her, not insisting, just letting the rain be loud enough that he didn't have to speak. And after a moment of hesitation, like her soul was debating whether to trust life or die trying, she nodded. Inside the truck, Arissa clutched her son so tightly that she almost forgot to breathe. Her hand never once loosened. Even when Ryan turned on the heater, even when he offered her his dry jacket, even when the storm outside rumbled like the world was angry, those hands never stopped holding that child. When he looked into her face, he realized something terrible. She was not just scared because of the rain or the storm or being stranded. She was scared because she believed someone was coming for her. She whispered only 3 words. He will follow. Ryan didn't ask who. He didn't need to ask. He knew that tone. He had heard it before in Old Neighbors, in the bruised silence of people trapped behind closed curtains. The story didn't need names or details to be true. Every bruise of emotion, she had told enough. Arissa stared out the windshield, rain racing across the glass like tear streaks on the sky. She looked small, yet she was holding a world. Her boy, trying to protect him with nothing but her thin arms and torn heart. Ryan put the truck in drive and slowly pulled back onto the highway. And as they moved forward, the storm eased up just slightly, enough for the road to be visible ahead. After a quiet minute, she exhaled, not like she was breathing out air, but like she was breathing out a memory she had been choking on. Her body trembled. Her voice was weak, but she spoke with the strength of a mother who refused to break in front of her child. I had to leave. He wasn't going to stop this time. Ryan's knuckles tightened on the steering wheel. He felt the weight of those words like cold knives. He didn't interrupt. Some stories must come out slowly, on their own timing. Arissa continued. She said that her partner, the child's father, had never been gentle. Not once. He controlled her, manipulated her, threatened her whenever she questioned why he treated her like property instead of like a human. She thought she could endure it for the sake of their child, believing one day a little kindness would awaken something inside him. But today, something changed. Today he had grabbed her wrist so violently she felt something crack, and he raised his hand to strike her in front of their son. That crossed a line inside her that no wound had ever crossed before. So she ran, without her wallet, without food, without thinking. She just grabbed her child and escaped. Ryan swallowed the rise of anger burning in his throat. Anger not at her, but at the cruelty some people inflict and call love. He drove carefully, not taking her to his own home. He knew that wouldn't be wise. Instead, he took her to a small family-owned diner he trusted, owned by an older couple named Sam and Orlita, who worked with charity organizations and new social workers. They always helped. Always. But while they drove, the storm became heavier again, a second wave of downpour. So heavy he had to pull under a gas station awning for a few minutes to wait until visibility returned. Inside the parked truck, the silence was intense, but not empty. Ursa stared at her exhausted little boy as he finally fell asleep, his small hand gripping her shirt. Her eyes softened for the first time since he saw her. Like that tiny sleeping hand was the lifeline tethering her heart to survival. Ryan gently leaned his head back against the seat, feeling the storm outside, feeling the aching reality of how many people suffer quietly, unseen, unheard. People like Ursa, people like Taven, people who deserve better. He didn't ask intrusive questions. He didn't press for details she wasn't ready to share. He simply let her know, quietly, that today, she wasn't alone. When the rain softened again, he started driving toward the diner. Sam and Erlito were shocked at first by the sight. The soaked mother, the sleeping child, the red pickup dripping like it had just risen from the ocean itself. But they didn't panic. They didn't question her value. They listened. They offered food. They gave towels. They offered a warm place to sit in the staff area away from the customers. And they called a woman they trusted from a domestic support network who arrived 30 minutes later to help Ursa file for immediate protective shelter placement. While all this happened, Ryan quietly slipped back into his truck for a moment and sat still, letting everything sink in. He hadn't planned any of this today. He had just been driving. He had just happened to see her. And yet, because he stopped, a child may now sleep safer tonight. A mother may breathe easier tomorrow. And a future may shift direction simply because one stranger refused to become another car that just drove by. Later, when Ursa stood up to leave with the social worker, she didn't say a long speech. She simply looked at Ryan, eyes filled with gratitude, and nodded like she was thanking him for giving her something bigger than a ride. He had given her time. Time to choose safety. Time to take action. Time to protect her child before tragedy claimed the chance. And he never asked for credit. He never asked for reward. He simply wished her strength, silently. As she walked out with her sleeping son in her arms like a fragile treasure she would never again let be endangered, the storm had ended. The clouds were parting. The road smelled like wet asphalt and rebirth. Ryan drove home that evening without music, without distraction, just the echo of what small kindness can do. Sometimes saving someone doesn't require heroic muscles or dramatic speeches. Sometimes it's as simple as stopping, as simple as noticing pain, as simple as choosing to be human in a world numb to suffering. If this story touched your heart, if you believe that even a small act of kindness can rewrite someone's entire destiny, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe to more life-changing moments here on Touch of Kindness Stories so these messages can continue reaching people who need hope. And before we close, comment below. Kindness is never wasted. Because those 4 words are proof that sometimes even a stranger can become the miracle in somebody else's storm.